Breaking news! The atmosphere is very heated behind the scenes at the Miami Dolphins, and the board is about to make another move to try to strengthen the team for next season. Some names are on the table, but one in particular has caught the attention of fans and analysts. I'll tell you all the details, but first make sure you've already pressed the like button if you've been a Miami Dolphins fan for over 22 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. There are people here who were at the first game. Maximum respect. If possible, comment like this: "Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds green and orange." Let's start by talking about him. Let's talk about Quinn Ewers. Yes, that Quinn Ewers, the Texas Longhorns quarterback with a cannon arm and a resume full of highlights and question marks. Barry Jackson recently reported that the Dolphins not only met with Ewers, but also had dinner with him, a clear sign of interest that shouldn't be taken lightly. This isn't the first time Miami's name has been linked to Ewers. Back in January, there was already talk of him potentially becoming a mid-round target for the Dolphins. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Ewers played under Steve Sarkisian in an offense that echoes many of the principles Mike McDaniel employs in Miami: quick reads, RPOs, motion-heavy sets, and getting the ball out fast. He thrives in that kind of system. When kept clean, Ewers completed over 70% of his passes, had a 76.9% adjusted completion rate, and sported a quarterback rating north of 111. These are not numbers you ignore. But there's another side to the coin. When pressured, his performance dropped dramatically. The QB rating was nearly halved, and turnover-worthy plays jumped by 2 full percentage points. The inconsistency isn't just in pressure situations either. Despite throwing for 3,400 yards and 22 touchdowns in 2023, many expected Ewers to elevate his game last season and make a leap into first-round conversation. Instead, he plateaued. His yards per attempt dropped, his interception numbers climbed, and his completion percentage slipped. Add in a couple of missed games due to injury and you've got a prospect who's promising but far from polished. Still, the Dolphins' interest is very real, and here's why that's intriguing. Miami holds multiple picks in both the 4th and 5th rounds, as well as 3 in the 7th. That's a lot of flexibility. There's a very realistic scenario where the Dolphins draft a quarterback like Ewers as a developmental piece behind Tua Tagovailoa and Zach Wilson. Let's be honest, Tua's durability issues aren't going away, and Wilson, while a solid insurance policy, hasn't proven to be a long-term answer. Developing someone like Ewers with a strong coaching staff that includes McDaniel, Frank Smith, and Darrell Bevell, that might just be the right kind of gamble for this front office. Now, pivoting to another major storyline, Jalen Phillips. Could the Dolphins really be entertaining a trade involving one of their most explosive defensive players? ESPN floated a mock trade sending Phillips to the 49ers along with the 13th overall pick in exchange for San Francisco's 11th overall pick and a 4th-round selection. On paper, that doesn't sound like a major haul. In fact, it effectively values Phillips as being worth the 91st overall pick, a late 3rd-rounder. That valuation is jarring when you consider the talent Phillips brings to the table. His rookie season, 8.5 sacks. Year 2, 7 sacks, a slight dip, but still productive. In 2023, before his Achilles injury, he was on pace for double digits. Then, disaster struck again in 2024. Just 4 games into the season, Phillips tore his ACL during Monday Night Football against the Titans. 2 major lower body injuries in 2 years have clouded what was once an incredibly bright future. The logic behind the trade proposal is that Miami has other options. Chop Robinson, their 2024 first-round pick, is coming off a stellar rookie campaign. Bradley Chubb, despite his own injury history, is a high-priced veteran locked in for now. The Dolphins also have depth in Quentin Bell and 2023 5th-rounder Mohamed Kamar. So, yes, there's a rotation forming, but is it really time to give up on Jalen Phillips? The case against the trade is compelling. Phillips is a homegrown product, having played at the University of Miami. He wants to be here. And if he manages to play 14 or more games this season and logs another 6 to 7 sack campaign, you've got a chance to re-sign him on a reasonable deal due to his injury history, possibly under market value. Letting him walk for what amounts to a minimal draft upgrade and a mid-round pick doesn't feel like the right call. The Dolphins are in a pivotal place. They're still looking to cement their identity under Mike McDaniel, and they're building a team that can compete not just in the AFC East, but deep into January. Drafting a developmental QB like Ewers makes sense if they truly believe in his potential. Trading Phillips? That's a much tougher sell, especially when the return feels like pennies on the dollar. So now, it's your turn. What do you think, Dolphins fans? Should Miami take a swing on Quinn Ewers and mold him into the future of the franchise? And what about Jalen Phillips? Is it worth flipping him for a couple of draft spots and a mid-round pick? Or should they stay the course and bet on his bounce back? Drop your takes in the comments. Y for yes, N for no on Ewers, and A for accept or D for decline on the Phillips trade. Let's talk it out. Let's keep this rolling, because there's a lot more to unpack about what the Miami Dolphins are doing, or potentially planning, as we inch closer to the 2025 NFL Draft. And if you thought the conversation was heating up with Quinn Ewers and Jalen Phillips, just wait until you start thinking about what this means for the overall direction of this team. Starting with the quarterback situation again, one thing that has to be acknowledged is the changing philosophy we're seeing from the Dolphins front office. Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel aren't just sitting on their hands hoping things work out with Tua and Zach Wilson. They're being proactive, and not just for the now, but for the future. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league, and Miami knows it can't afford to be caught flat-footed if things go south at the most important position on the field. Quinn Ewers might not be perfect. In fact, he has plenty of rough edges. But let's not ignore the traits. That arm talent is rare. When you can rifle the ball like a major league pitcher 20 yards downfield on a rope, that's something coaches want to work with. Yes, he needs a year or two in the oven. His pocket presence needs work. His mechanics, inconsistent. His durability, a big red flag. But with the right system, and he would absolutely be in one in Miami, the ceiling is undeniably high. We're talking about a quarterback who, with some refinement, could absolutely start in the NFL. And let's face it, if the Dolphins do go that route in rounds 4 or 5, they wouldn't be committing major draft capital to the position. They'd be taking a calculated swing on a high-upside player who doesn't need to start immediately. That's the beauty of it. Low risk, potentially very high reward. The reality is that a developmental QB pick on day 3 wouldn't threaten Tua's starting job in the short term, but it would provide some security if things unravel or injuries persist. Now shifting back to Jalen Phillips, because this topic is absolutely loaded with emotion and long-term implications. Let's not overlook what this guy means to Miami. He was drafted to be the next great pass rusher for the Dolphins, and at times, he's shown flashes that he can absolutely be that guy. When healthy, he is explosive, versatile, and disruptive off the edge. But the health part? That's been the Achilles heel, literally and figuratively. So let's put it all together. The Dolphins are exploring quarterback options on day 3 of the draft, possibly eyeing a talent like Quinn Ewers, a raw but gifted passer whose style meshes perfectly with Mike McDaniel's system. Simultaneously, they're evaluating the future of Jalen Phillips, a player whose talent is undeniable but whose injuries have clouded his long-term outlook. Do you trade him now, at a low point in value, or bet on the bounce back? This is what makes the 2025 draft so intriguing for Miami. There are decisions being made that go beyond just filling holes on a depth chart. These are philosophical calls that could shape the franchise's direction for years to come. Do you invest in a developmental quarterback when your starter has question marks? Do you double down on a homegrown pass rusher recovering from 2 major injuries? Or do you cut bait and reset? Miami is at a crossroads, and these draft decisions will say a lot about where they see themselves not just in 2025, but well beyond. So again, I want to hear from you. Is Quinn Ewers worth the mid-round flyer? And what about Jalen Phillips? Are you riding with him one more year or cashing in while you still can? Sound off in the comments. This is your team. Your voice matters. Let's get this conversation going.